On the morning of January 8, 2002, the small Slovakian village of Viničky stirred awake like it always did. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys, dogs barked in the distance, and the crisp winter air hung heavy over the fields and narrow roads. Viničky was the kind of place where time seemed to move slower, where people knew one another by name, where secrets were hard to keep. But on that day, a secret was unfolding. A secret that would haunt the village for decades to come. 16-year-old Timea Nagyová should have been on her way to school in the nearby town of Čierna nad Tisou. She was a bright girl, full of potential, and like most teenagers, she carried both the weight of expectation and the desire for independence. But on this particular Tuesday morning, her path would not follow its usual course. Instead of a classroom, she made her way to Trzebiszów, the bustling district town some 12 kilometers away. Why she went there was something her grandmother, the woman who raised her, would not even know until it was too late. Timea had an appointment with a psychologist. It wasn't unusual for teenagers to struggle, but what weighed on Timea's mind that morning remains unknown. What drove her to seek out this private consultation? Did she feel misunderstood, isolated, or burdened by something she couldn't share with her family? Whatever the reason, she made her way there alone, carefully, deliberately, and quietly, keeping her grandmother in the dark about it. Trzebiszów, larger and busier than Viničky, must have felt like another world compared to the village she called home. After her appointment, she visited her sister, spending part of the afternoon together. Around 3 p.m., the sisters parted ways. Timea boarded the bus back to Viničky, carrying her school bag and documents, seemingly headed for the warmth of home, where her grandmother would be waiting. Her sister watched her go, unaware she would never see her again. The bus ride would have been ordinary, the kind of trip Timea had taken countless times. Passengers came and went, conversations rose and fell. The bus rumbled along the familiar road leading to the small riverside village. At some point, the driver confirmed, she stood, walked down the narrow aisle, and stepped off at the Viničky stop. She was just a short walk away from her grandmother's home, just a few hundred meters. But that final walk, the most routine part of her day, was where the trail went cold. Timea never arrived home. Evening fell over Viničky, and what should have been a simple school day stretched into something much darker. When she didn't walk through the door, her grandmother began to worry. At first, perhaps she told herself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe the bus was late. Maybe Timea had stopped at a friend's house. But as the hours ticked by and the house remained silent, dread began to settle in. By nightfall, it was clear. Something was terribly wrong. The following days blurred into a nightmare. On January 10th, just 2 days after she vanished, her school bag was discovered beneath a bridge near the village. Inside were her documents, everything that tied her to her daily life. Her identity papers, the things no teenager simply abandons. The bag wasn't hidden. It wasn't tossed far away. It was placed, or discarded, where someone would eventually find it. It was as if someone wanted to leave a message. Timea is gone, and she's not coming back. The police moved quickly. Searches were organized, scouring the riverbanks of the Bodrog, dragging its cold, murky waters, combing through the fields and woods that bordered the village. Viničky, with its scattered houses, small gardens, and farmlands, suddenly became a crime scene. Villagers watched as officers searched every corner, but nothing emerged. No footprints, no clothing, no trace of the girl who had stepped off the bus. It was as though she had vanished into thin air. Rumors began to circulate. Some whispered that she had been taken across the nearby Hungarian border, abducted and sold into trafficking. The region, quiet and rural as it was, lay close to international lines. Human traffickers had been known to prowl for vulnerable girls in Eastern Europe, luring or abducting them before moving them out of the country. Was Timea one of them? Did someone wait for her at the bus stop, knowing she would be alone? Others speculated that she might have left willingly, perhaps meeting someone she had been secretly communicating with. But if she had planned to run away, why leave behind her documents? Why abandon everything under a bridge, so close to home? And why did no one ever hear from her again? Her grandmother refused to believe she left of her own accord. Timea was close to her, rooted in her family and village life. For her to simply disappear made no sense. Each day that passed without answers deepened the wound, turning fear into despair. The investigation dragged on. Police questioned villagers, traced her steps, tried to piece together the hours before she vanished. But Viničky gave up no secrets. The Bodrog flowed steadily past, indifferent, carrying away time and hope. The fields, quiet and vast, held their silence, and the little village of a few hundred people became the setting of a mystery that has never been solved. Imagine that walk from the bus stop to her grandmother's house. It wasn't long, just a few minutes, perhaps 5. A stretch of road lined with houses, the kind of place where you'd expect neighbors to glance out their windows. Yet no one saw her arrive. No one saw her turn a corner, or wave hello, or pass by. How could she have disappeared so completely in such a short distance? Theories multiplied over the years. Some suggested a local may have lured her away. Someone who knew her, someone she trusted enough to follow, at least for a moment. Others leaned toward the possibility of strangers, an opportunistic abduction, a vehicle stopping at just the right or wrong moment. Her secret psychologist appointment added another layer of intrigue. Why hadn't she told her grandmother about it? What had she been struggling with? Could she have confided in someone outside her family, someone who exploited her vulnerability? The unanswered questions twisted the narrative into something darker, more sinister. For her family, the days stretched into weeks, the weeks into months. Hope flickered with every phone call, every tip, every rumor. Some claimed she had been seen in nearby towns, others whispered about sightings across the border. But none of them ever proved true. Each lead fizzled into nothingness, each clue dissolved like mist in the morning sun. Timea's bag under the bridge remained the most tangible piece of evidence. Its presence was haunting. It suggested that whoever took her wanted authorities to know she was gone. But it also suggested finality. Without her documents, without her possessions, she was stripped of identity. She was no longer a girl from Viničky. She was nobody, nowhere, lost to the shadows. Years passed, and the mystery only deepened. Detectives grew frustrated. Families in the village grew cautious, children escorted closely, eyes watching strangers more carefully. The memory of Timea lingered, a reminder of how quickly safety could shatter. What happened on that January day? Was it a crime of opportunity, a planned abduction, or something darker hidden beneath the surface? Did someone close to her know more than they ever admitted? Picture the scene again. A bus pulls away from the stop, leaving behind a teenage girl with her bag slung over her shoulder. The road stretches quietly toward her grandmother's house. The air is cold. The village is hushed. Somewhere along that path, Timea steps out of sight, and in that moment, she is gone. The silence that followed has lasted for over 2 decades. No arrests, no body, no trace, just questions that gnaw at the edges of memory. For her grandmother, every day without answers was torture. She had raised Timea, cared for her, and in an instant, she was left with only an empty house and a hollow ache that would never heal. The walls of that home, once filled with the sounds of a teenager's life, became unbearably quiet. Every creak of the floorboards, every knock at the door carried the weight of possibility. Could it be her? Could she finally be coming home? But the door never opened. The village of Viničky still remembers. Neighbors recall the search teams, the sound of police dogs, the way the river was combed for signs. They recall the fear that followed, the way children were held a little closer afterward, the way everyone locked their doors. Timea's disappearance became part of the fabric of the place, a wound that never fully closed. There is something chilling about disappearances in small towns. In cities, one might vanish into the crowd, lost in the noise and chaos. But in a village of just a few hundred souls, where every face is familiar, the silence is louder, the absence more piercing. For a girl to simply vanish there suggests something deliberate, something carefully hidden, something monstrous. Even now, whispers of what happened circulate. Some are convinced she was taken abroad, pulled into the dark world of trafficking. Others believe she may have been silenced by someone closer to home. Without evidence, without answers, speculation thrives in the void. And that void is where Timea remains. A girl forever 16, frozen in memory, last seen stepping off a bus on a winter afternoon. Her story is one of those haunting mysteries that refuses to fade, one that clings to the imagination because it feels impossible. How can someone disappear so completely, in broad daylight, in plain sight? Perhaps the truth lies just beyond reach, hidden in the folds of silence, waiting for the right moment to surface. Or perhaps it will never be known, forever locked in the shadows of that January day. What is certain is this: Timea Nagyová's story is not just a case file, not just another statistic. It is the story of a girl whose life was interrupted in an instant, whose family was left with nothing but grief and questions, whose village was marked by a mystery it could not solve. She should have been safe. She should have made it home. She should have grown up, lived, dreamed, laughed, and loved. Instead, she stepped off a bus, walked into the cold afternoon air, and vanished into silence. And the silence has never ended.